There is a hidden world that exists before the sun rises, a world where silence speaks, thoughts breathe, and dreams begin to take shape. Waking up at 400 a.m. isn't just about getting an early start, it's about claiming ownership of your life before the world demands a piece of it. Most people never experience the power of these hours because they are still lost in sleep, unaware that the world's most valuable time is quietly slipping away. When you rise at 400 a.m., you enter a zone of purity. No distractions, no noise, no notifications, just you and your mind. In those moments, your thoughts are at their sharpest. The brain releases neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin that enhance focus and mood. This is when creativity awakens and clarity expands. You can think deeply, plan intentionally, and make decisions that guide your future instead of reacting to it. The early morning gives you control of your direction before chaos begins. It's not easy at first. Your body resists, your mind complains, and the bed whispers comfort. But transformation never happens in comfort. When you wake at 400 a.m., you train your willpower like a muscle. You prove to yourself that you are stronger than your excuses. You begin to realize that discipline is the foundation of freedom. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you move closer to mastery. Those early hours are sacred. While the world sleeps, you can read, write, meditate, exercise, or simply sit in silence and reflect. You begin to design your day consciously, instead of drifting through it aimlessly. This quiet time becomes your secret advantage, your private classroom for self-development. You learn about yourself, your habits, your goals, and your limits. You learn to lead your emotions instead of being led by them. When you wake up early, you create time, the most valuable currency in existence. You stop saying, I don't have time. You make time. You make space for learning, self-care, and vision. Over days and months, these early hours compound like interest in a bank account. They build habits, confidence, and results that ordinary routines can never produce. There's something deeply spiritual about watching the sunrise. It symbolizes renewal, a daily reminder that every day is a new beginning. The light slowly replaces darkness, and in that moment, you realize the same happens within you. Every dawn becomes a promise that yesterday's mistakes don't define you. What defines you is what you do with the new light of today. Some people say waking up early is unnecessary, that success can come anytime. They're right, but what they miss is that waking early is not about success alone. It's about alignment. It's about learning to listen to yourself in silence, setting your intention before the world can interrupt it. It's about building inner strength, focus, and balance. It's about being proactive instead of reactive. When you rise before the sun, you begin to rise before your limitations. You stop following the rhythm of the world and start creating your own. You become more productive, peaceful, and purposeful. The world doesn't change, your perspective does. And when your perspective changes, your life follows. So tomorrow, when the alarm rings at 400 a.m., remember this: you're not just waking up early. You're waking up to your potential. You're waking up to discipline, clarity, and self-respect. You're waking up to a version of yourself that most people never meet, the version that's focused, fearless, and free. Waking up at 400 a.m. is not just a habit, it's a declaration that you refuse to live on autopilot, that you choose awareness over distraction, purpose over comfort, growth over sleep. Waking up at 400 a.m. every day will change your life in ways you cannot yet imagine. It is not merely about rising early, it is about transforming who you are and how you think. In the stillness of the early morning, when the rest of the world sleeps, something powerful happens. The noise disappears, distractions fade, and all that remains is you, alone with your thoughts, your ambitions, and your truth. This sacred hour is not about competition or productivity. It is about clarity. It is about connecting with the deepest parts of yourself before the demands of the world begin to pull you in every direction. Those who understand the value of this time realize that these quiet hours are where strength, peace, and purpose are built. When you wake up at 400 a.m., you are giving yourself a head start on life. While others are still lost in dreams, you are already shaping your reality. Science tells us that the human brain is most alert and creative in the early hours of the morning, especially when the mind is rested and free from interruptions. This means that the thoughts you think, the plans you make, and the actions you take at this hour are more focused and powerful. You can read deeply, write clearly, and think without distraction. The quiet amplifies your mind's voice, and that voice begins to guide you toward progress. These hours become a sanctuary for your mental and emotional growth. A time when you design your day, your future, and even your destiny. But waking up at 400 a.m. is not easy. It requires discipline, and discipline is the true foundation of greatness. In a world where comfort has become a habit, choosing discomfort is a form of rebellion. Every time you resist the temptation to stay in bed, you strengthen your willpower. You remind yourself that your goals are more important than your excuses. Over time, this small act of rising early becomes a symbol of self-control and commitment. You begin to feel proud, not because of what you achieve at that hour, but because of who you are becoming through it. You start to realize that true freedom doesn't come from doing what you want, it comes from having control over what you do. The early morning is also a time of mental alignment. When the world is quiet, your thoughts become organized. You begin to see what truly matters and what doesn't. You can meditate, visualize your goals, or simply reflect on your journey. These moments of solitude help you reconnect with your purpose and recharge your spirit. They give you the emotional strength to face the challenges of the day with calm and confidence. When others are waking up stressed, rushing, or distracted, you are already centered, focused, and ready. That inner peace becomes your secret power, the energy that allows you to move through life with purpose and precision. Consistency is what turns this practice into transformation. The first few days may feel exhausting, but the human body adapts quickly. What once felt impossible becomes your new normal. As you continue to rise early, your body clock resets, your mind sharpens, and your productivity soars. You begin to notice that you have more time, not because the day has grown longer, but because you are using it more wisely. These early hours add up. Over weeks and months, the compound effect of waking early becomes visible in your thoughts, habits, and results. You achieve more not by doing more, but by being more intentional with your time. There is also a deeper transformation that happens, one that cannot be measured by productivity alone. You develop self-respect. You begin to see yourself as someone who keeps promises, someone who leads rather than follows, someone who creates instead of waiting. Waking up at 4000 a.m. becomes more than a habit, it becomes part of your identity. It shapes your character and strengthens your sense of purpose. It builds confidence, because every morning you prove to yourself that you are in control. Waking up at 400 a.m. is not about chasing success faster, it is about slowing down to understand yourself better. It is about finding space to grow, to plan, to think, and to simply be. It teaches you that the most powerful moments are not found in noise and movement, but in silence and stillness. The world belongs to those who master their mornings, because the way you begin your day shapes how you live your life. When you rise at 400 a.m., you rise not just from sleep, but from mediocrity. You rise from distraction, from procrastination, from doubt. You rise toward clarity, discipline, and greatness. You rise to meet the best version of yourself, the one waiting quietly in the silence before dawn. And once you experience that power, you will never want to sleep through it again. Building a morning routine that shapes greatness begins with understanding that success is not built in grand moments, but in the quiet, consistent rituals that shape your days. Waking up early is only the first step. What truly transforms your life is what you choose to do with those precious early hours. When you open your eyes at 400 a.m., you are given a sacred window of time, a time that belongs solely to you. It is in this space, when the world is silent and distractions have not yet awakened, that you can intentionally design the mindset and energy that will carry you through the day. A great morning routine is not about perfection or complexity, it is about alignment. It is about aligning your actions with your goals, your focus with your purpose, and your heart with your vision. The first hour after waking is the foundation of your day. If you begin it with chaos, the rest of the day will mirror that chaos. But if you start it with calmness, clarity, and intention, everything you do afterward carries that same strength. Your morning routine should not just prepare you to face the world, it should prepare you to rise above it. Start by doing what nourishes your mind and body. Engage in stillness before movement. Take a moment to breathe deeply, to ground yourself in gratitude, and to remember why you started this journey in the first place. This simple act of mindfulness gives your mind direction before it becomes flooded with external noise. Many people underestimate the power of small habits performed consistently. Reading for 10 minutes, journaling your thoughts, or setting your intentions for the day may seem simple, but these acts compound over time. They shape your mindset, strengthen your focus, and teach your mind to choose progress over passivity. Journaling helps you unload the clutter in your mind, allowing clarity to take its place. It helps you see patterns in your thinking, identify distractions, and refocus your attention on what truly matters. Writing even a few lines each morning builds self-awareness, and self-awareness is the foundation of all personal growth. Physical movement is another essential element of a powerful morning routine. Whether it is stretching, walking, or training, exercise activates your body and awakens your energy. It releases endorphins, improves focus, and creates momentum that carries through the day. The way you move your body shapes the way you feel, and the way you feel shapes the way you think. A strong body fuels a strong mind, and when both work in harmony, you become unstoppable. You do not need hours. Even 15 minutes of movement can transform your state of mind and awaken your confidence. The next step is to feed your mind. In the early hours, your brain is fresh and ready to absorb knowledge. Reading a few pages of an inspiring book, listening to an educational podcast, or studying something that challenges your thinking will help you grow intellectually. This is not about consuming random information, it is about choosing what uplifts and expands you. Every page you read at dawn adds to the architecture of your future. Knowledge becomes the raw material for vision, and vision is what guides great lives. After nourishing your body and mind, take time to plan your day. Many people drift through life without a sense of direction, reacting to events instead of creating them. Planning turns you from a reactor into a creator. When you outline your top priorities, you begin the day with purpose instead of confusion. You gain control of your time, which means you gain control of your results. Clarity eliminates anxiety because you know exactly what deserves your attention. Even 5 minutes of planning in the quiet morning can save hours of wasted time later. A powerful morning routine is not about following someone else's formula. It is about discovering what fuels your energy, peace, and focus. It should reflect your values, not trends. Some people find strength in meditation, others in prayer or reflection, and others in creative expression. The key is consistency. The routine you commit to becomes the rhythm of your discipline. Over time, these habits transform from tasks into identity. You no longer try to be focused, you simply are. You no longer chase productivity, you embody it. You no longer seek motivation, you live from purpose. The beauty of building a morning routine lies in how it reshapes your relationship with yourself. It teaches you patience, discipline, and self-respect. You start realizing that the first victory of the day is not achieved in the world, but within yourself. When you decide to rise early, take ownership of your time, and invest in your growth before anyone else has even begun. These quiet victories, repeated daily, create momentum that no external force can stop. That is how greatness is built, not in sudden bursts of brilliance, but in the silent, consistent acts of preparation that happen while the world still sleeps. Discipline over motivation is one of the most powerful principles you can live by, and waking up at 400 a.m. every day is one of the greatest ways to understand it. Motivation is temporary, it burns bright but fades quickly. It depends on mood, energy, and emotion, and those change constantly. Discipline, however, is stable, consistent, and unshakable. It is not affected by how you feel, it is driven by what you believe. The truth is, if you wait until you feel like it, you'll rarely act. But when you act because you've decided to, you begin to master yourself. Waking early is not about the time, it's about training your mind to obey your goals rather than your impulses. Every morning, when the alarm rings, you face a silent battle: comfort versus commitment, feelings versus purpose. And the choice you make defines who you are becoming. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and results. Everyone wants success, but only a few are willing to pay the price of consistency. The price is not money or talent, it is effort, focus, and sacrifice. Getting up at 400 a.m. when your body craves rest is an act of defiance against weakness. It's a reminder that you control your decisions, not your excuses. Discipline doesn't come from external motivation, it comes from a deep internal promise. A promise that you refuse to break no matter how you feel. This kind of discipline builds character. It strengthens the part of you that can push forward when others stop. It teaches you that progress is not about excitement but endurance. Motivation gives you a spark, but discipline builds the fire. When you rely on motivation alone, your actions are inconsistent. Some days you're productive, other days you drift. Discipline eliminates that instability. It turns effort into habit, and habit into identity. Once you've done something repeatedly, it stops being a struggle and becomes natural. That's the secret of great achievers. They don't rely on being inspired, they rely on being prepared. Their routines carry them through days when their emotions fail. You may not always feel powerful when you wake at 400 a.m., but the act itself is power. Proof that you're capable of doing what others won't. There's a deep psychological shift that happens when you choose discipline over motivation. You begin to respect yourself more. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, you build trust in your own word. Most people break promises to themselves daily. They say they'll change, they'll start, they'll improve, but they never do. That lack of self-trust creates frustration and doubt. Discipline repairs that. It proves to you that you can depend on yourself. When you rise early, when you follow through on your goals, when you act even when it's hard, you build self-confidence. Not the kind that comes from praise or success, but the kind that comes from consistency. Discipline also teaches you patience. In a world obsessed with instant results, it reminds you that mastery takes time. The person who wakes early and puts in the work day after day may not see results immediately, but over months and years, their growth becomes undeniable. Discipline compounds. Every early morning, every small step, every quiet hour of work adds up to something extraordinary. It's not glamorous and it's not easy, but it's real. That's the kind of success that lasts, the kind built on effort, not emotion. Another truth about discipline is that it liberates you. Many believe discipline is restrictive, that it takes away freedom. The opposite is true. Discipline creates freedom. When you control your habits, you control your time. When you control your time, you control your life. You're no longer a slave to laziness, distractions, or procrastination. You become free to focus, to create, to grow. Freedom without discipline leads to chaos, but discipline without freedom leads to greatness. Waking up at 400 a.m. each day is a daily reminder that you own your life. You start your day with intention instead of reaction, with clarity instead of confusion. Discipline also shapes how you handle failure. Motivated people quit when they fall, disciplined people learn and rise again. Motivation makes you chase excitement, but discipline helps you embrace the process. Every great individual in history achieved excellence not because they were always inspired, but because they were consistent. They worked when no one watched. They practiced when no one cared. They rose early, they persisted through fatigue, and they refused to quit. That's what discipline looks like: quiet, relentless effort that doesn't seek validation. In the end, discipline over motivation means living by principle rather than preference. It means choosing to act even when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or uncertain. It's waking up when the world sleeps, studying when others scroll, training when others rest. It's not glamorous, but it's what separates the ordinary from the exceptional. When you live with discipline, you no longer chase motivation. You become the source of it. You inspire others not through words, but through consistency. So when you wake at 400 a.m. tomorrow and the temptation to hit the snooze button whispers, remember this: motivation will not get you out of bed, but discipline will. And every time you choose discipline, you strengthen the foundation of your success. The world belongs to those who can do what they must, even when they don't feel like it. Because in the long run, feelings fade, but discipline endures. Gaining time for growth and reflection is one of the greatest rewards of waking up at 400 a.m. every day. In a world that constantly demands attention, where every moment is filled with noise, distractions, and obligations, time has become the rarest and most valuable resource. People often say they don't have time to read, to learn, to plan, or to take care of themselves. But the truth is, they do. They just haven't learned how to create it. Waking up at 400 a.m. is how you take that time back. It's how you reclaim ownership over your days and begin living intentionally instead of reactively. Those early hours become your sanctuary, a space for personal growth and deep reflection before the world begins to move. When the world is asleep, your mind is awake and undisturbed. The silence of the early morning is not emptiness. It's an opportunity. It's a blank page where you can write the first lines of your day with purpose and clarity. In those moments, your thoughts are unclouded, your emotions are calm, and your focus is sharper than at any other time. The absence of external noise allows you to listen to your inner voice, the one that gets drowned out during the chaos of the day. This voice is honest. It reminds you of your dreams, your goals, and your direction. Reflection at this hour helps you understand where you are and where you need to go. Time in the morning is magnified. 1 hour in silence can often be more productive than 3 in distraction. It's not about working more, it's about working with focus and depth. You can use this time to read something that expands your mind, to study something that improves your craft, or to plan actions that move your life forward. Growth doesn't happen by accident, it happens through intention. The more intentionally you use those quiet hours, the faster you evolve. Every minute you invest in yourself during that time compounds. It builds knowledge, confidence, and wisdom, qualities that cannot be rushed or faked. Reflection is just as vital as growth. Without reflection, action becomes mechanical and directionless. Waking up early gives you the space to look at your life honestly. You can analyze what went right, what went wrong, and what needs to change. It's in these reflective moments that breakthroughs happen. Not because the world gives you answers, but because you finally have the silence to hear them. Reflection creates clarity, and clarity creates power. When you understand yourself better, you make better decisions. You stop wasting time on things that don't matter and start aligning your actions with your purpose. People who rise early develop a different relationship with time. They see it not as something to spend, but as something to invest. They understand that every day offers a window of potential, and what they do with it determines who they become. When you wake up at 400 a.m., you experience time differently. The day feels longer not because the hours have changed, but because your awareness has expanded. You begin to value each moment more. You plan better, think clearer, and move slower but more deliberately. That sense of control over your time leads to peace. And peace is one of the rarest forms of power in the modern world. Those early hours also build momentum. While most people start their day reacting to messages, alarms, and responsibilities, you begin yours with purpose. You're already ahead, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You've centered yourself before the rush begins. That gives you an edge in every area of life, because you're not chasing time, you're leading it. When others feel overwhelmed, you feel grounded. When they are tired, you are energized. When they are lost in the noise, you are guided by clarity. That difference, sustained over months and years, changes everything. Waking up at 400 a.m. is a form of self-respect. It's a statement that your growth matters enough to be prioritized. It's a declaration that you are willing to create space for the things that truly shape your future. It may feel difficult at first. Your body will resist, your mind will argue, but eventually, it becomes a rhythm, a natural part of who you are. The satisfaction of watching the sunrise while others still sleep is not about superiority, it's about serenity. It's about knowing you've chosen to live on your terms, guided by purpose rather than pressure. Growth and reflection require solitude, and solitude is found in those early hours. When you rise before the world, you rise above it. You rise into awareness, into control, into peace. You give yourself the gift of time. Time to think, to grow, to heal, to create. And as the days pass, you begin to see that this practice is not just about waking up early, it's about waking up fully. You stop living on autopilot and start living with intention. The time you gain at 400 a.m. doesn't just change your schedule, it changes your life.